Nyree Ambarchian is from the Save Werrington Fields campaign group. Nyree, good morning.
Good morning.
Did it come as any surprise, the council saying that a third of the field, it will be fenced off?
Quite a lot of what the council said yesterday came as a surprise, not least because some of it just isn't the actual, it sounds really bold to say isn't true, but isn't necessarily the clearest picture or representation of the facts, if I put it like that, maybe. I did listen. It was Councillor Howard you had on.
That's right.
I did have a bit of a listen. So the amount of space that the school now want to fence off is 45% of the area of green open space. And it's way more than they originally said they needed, which was 2.5 football pitches. It's now gone up. Inflation is rising very quickly when it comes to field fencing, because there's now 8 fields at football pitches size that they say that they need. And the council, the other kind of surprise was that the council said, you know, it's up to the academy, it's up to the school, it's not to do with us. Actually, no agreement for the land is in place yet. There's a temporary lease in place, which is a mechanism often used where negotiations are still taking place. So it's still the council's responsibility. It's still their decision.
Right. So John Howard was telling me yesterday that because the school are now the leaseholders of this land, it's more or less up to them what they do with it. But you reckon that's not quite the case? It's
not the case. I mean, anyone knows who rents, even if you want to put pictures up on the wall, you have to get permission. It's not as simple as that. It's a temporary kind of mechanism lease that's in place, and it's very much a tool for when you've not quite figured out all of the details. So it's really a decision for the council, however much they wish it wasn't.
Why would they wish it wasn't, though? Just because they don't want the flack?
I think so. I feel like it's a bit, honestly, it's sort of like wading through fog, but it feels very much like it's Peterborough's version of Yes Minister going on. And it's really hard to extract the actual details and facts. And I'm not sure the councillors are always given the real picture, which I feel like is just a real sort of breaking point of trust between the contract between Peterborough City Council and local residents. And we are just normal residents. You know, I'm not going to win any parenting awards this year. I've got my child watching cartoons while I do this. We're just it's been going on for years. We're normal people who've got kind of busy lives in the background. And the Academy Trust, it sounds really benign, but it's a private limited company. If you look up their accounts, they've got £64 million sat in the bank. They are a rich private corporation. And at the moment, it feels like it's a case of Academy first rather than sort of Peterborough first.
Could you just leave it and accept that you'll have 55% of this playing field, and maybe that's enough for a few dog walkers?
I mean, absolutely. And the temptation to sort of give up it's been going on for a long time. For me, this is not just about me right now. This has been in public open space use for 40 years without incident. There's been no even whiff of safeguarding issues. For me, it's about the next 10 years, the 10 years after that. And I think this sort of land grabbing by academies is something that we know is done across the country. And why should Peterborough taxpayers have to be paying for a really expensive fence that is for a very rich academy who don't need this land? Their board is set up to they've got land lawyers, commercial lawyers, investment bankers, town planners. They're set up to take land and to privately profit from it. And I just think the principle of that is wrong. So yes, we could roll over, but I feel like that would be a dud move for Werrington, for future residents here, and for the city as a whole.
So what do you want to happen now?
I would really like to have the conversation we've been pushing for. Compromise is possible. It probably doesn't look like 45% of the space, because actually it's quite a limited number of people that are going to be using it. When you're talking about that, you know, there are a lot of people in Werrington who use the space. I think a compromise is possible. And what we've been saying is, let's please sit down and have a meeting, and let's talk about actual facts rather than sort of wishful facts that people would wish were the truth but aren't actually.
Okay, Nyree, you've put that quite delicately. Thank you, Nyree Ambarchian there from the Save Werrington Fields campaign group. What a saga